Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. So a couple of announcements first. So the next live course, I'm finishing up the Alzheimer's course and cognitive decline course in the month of August. You can still take that class because I'm committing it to video platforms. So if this is something that concerns you, you can still take the class. Next one up is Your Amazing Microbiome, and then Health Benefits and Risks Associated with Cannabis. And we will finish the year with irritable bowel. So you can take those classes live. I will also commit them to video. The fall semester is ready to go. The Diet Lifestyle course is going to be offered. We have some great packages which are posted on our website, or I'm happy to talk to you about them. We can schedule a phone call. And also the schedule is set for the Nutrition Educator program. And by the way, if you haven't checked out Nutrition Educator, this is for the person who would get a dietetics degree if they didn't disagree with the philosophy of dietetics and they didn't want to do you don't want to do the food service part of it, tube feeding, I mean, stuff you're not interested in. Nutrition Educator is an alternative to that. So that might be something that you want to take a look at. And of course, feel free to send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. I'm happy to schedule a time with you to talk about your education, your career aspirations. I don't know everything about this, but we've been at it for 25 years. We sure have a lot of experience, and I'm happy to share it with you if it helps you make decisions about things, okay? So last week I announced that we had hit the 30,000 subscribers, direct subscribers, and so we did our drawing, and the winner is Stacy Robertson. You get a $200 gift certificate toward courses. You could buy a basic membership. You could take the Food Over Medicine certification course. I mean, there are all kinds of options, but Stacy, if you're watching this, send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. We'll figure out how to arrange a conversation and get you information so you can decide how you would like to spend your gift certificate, okay? So I want to go to some comments that you guys have sent to me. The first thing is, and I wanted to address this because I think it's a really valid point. When I was talking about my experience at USDA, I mentioned the very obese dietitian who was in charge of the school lunch association or the school food service association or whatever. I don't remember exactly what organization it was, but I thought that the overweight dietitians were an issue. And somebody said, well, but you know, your good friend Del Schroff has had a lifetime problem with weight and obesity, and you've been very much defending him, which is true. I even did a video clip about it, that I thought it was appalling that people were making nasty comments about Del. All right, so I want to explain the difference between Del and what happened at USDA. So the first thing is, under no circumstances is it ever acceptable to denigrate somebody's character because they're overweight. And that's a lot of what people were doing with Del when I made the video clip about that, okay? So that's an entirely different situation. And I was not denigrating the character of the people who, these overweight dietitians that were testifying, What I was talking about is that I think that there should be an expectation, and I've written about this before, that people in the healthcare business need to look like they're healthy. I mean, I don't want to go consult a tax accountant who got in trouble for tax evasion. I'd like to find somebody who is reputable in the area of tax, right? So I think that people in healthcare should be mindful of presenting an image of health, leading by example. I guess that's the thing that I'm looking for. In Del's case, Del is a chef, and his business is writing recipes and teaching cooking classes, and he's amazing at it. I mean, I've been eating Del's food for 25 years, can't imagine life without it. That's entirely different than setting food policy and determining what other people are going to eat as part of a healthful lunch and that sort of thing. So I think there are some differences between the situation with Del and the situation with people presenting themselves as experts at the dietary guidelines hearing. So I'm sure that the dietitians who testified were very nice people. I don't have any reason to believe anything else about them. And my comments were more about the image of a person presenting himself or herself as an expert in a field, and clearly the visual not lining up with that image. Okay, so that's my explanation, and I hope it's helpful. The other thing I wanted to share with you, and some of you get aggravated because I don't approve all the comments, okay? And And some of them are just rambling insanity. I mean, we couldn't approve them. Some of the foul language, some people, like I said, racial slurs, and we just aren't going to have any of that. But some of the interchanges with people are just not helpful. So I'm going to give you an example here. So I did the video on DEXA scans, and this is an exchange that I had by email, and it wasn't actually posted on the YouTube channel, but it's indicative of some of the things. So this person writes back to me, and he says, I basically said DEXA scans are useless, they don't tell you anything about your bone health. So this guy writes back and he says, at the Pritikin Longevity Center in Miami, Florida, they use DEXA scans with great success. Not just for bones, but also muscle and fat. Believe me, Pritikin knows what they're doing and would not use DEXA scans if they were useless. Not trying to be antagonistic, but they really know what they're doing. And so I write back to this person, I'll assume you reviewed the scientific studies provided by Pritikin regarding the use of DEXA for bone health and arriving at your conclusion that DEXA scans work for evaluating bone health. Please forward them to me and I'll review. I'm always willing to change my mind in response to good evidence. The person writes back to me, all capital letters, I assume you're not interested in the truth, or you would get in touch with them. They can provide you with all the facts you want. Pritikin has published over 100 scientific studies in peer-reviewed medical journals. More than Ornish, more than Esselstyn, more than Campbell, and with due respect, more than Wellness Forum. The truth is there if you really want to know it. I know if you get in touch with them, they will help you. They are the most respected authority on diet and nutrition in the world. They only follow the evidence. All right, I respond. It does not matter how many studies they've published. Many well-published authors have published faulty articles. It sounds like you just love Pritikin, not that you have researched the issue. Your choice, but my mission in life is to get people to make health-related decisions based on their own understanding of the facts. He writes back, one other thing, Dr. Walter Kempner may not have been a charming man, but what he accomplished for his patients is real. He was a brilliant man, and I think you do good work at Wellness Forum. I'm not knocking what you do, but facts are facts, all capitals. Pritikin is not a bunch of charlatans. They are science-based. They are not activists. They care only about the science. And their founder, Nathan Pritikin, is, have a nice day. All right, so I write back, just keep on believing. The medical system counts on people like you. All right, so you can see this, and the reason I wanted to share that with you is, first of all, it gives you an idea of why all these comments don't get approved. But the second thing is that this is the problem that we're facing in medicine, is people screaming without facts. And sometimes the people screaming the loudest without facts get paid a lot of attention to, and that's truly unfortunate. So again, when you disagree with me, please submit information. And by the way, I often don't approve those until I get a chance to check them out, because what I don't want to do is have links to various websites and that sort of thing on my channel where people think I must have checked it out or I wouldn't have approved it. So anyway, some explanations behind some of these things. So it's an interesting dialogue we have. All right, so I chose for today a really interesting study that I want to report to you on. So I'll just start by referring back to the dietary guidelines hearing again. Several health professionals claim that diabetes is a disease characterized by carb resistance, and low-carb eating can reverse it. But according to a new meta-analysis, the low-carb advocates are wrong. I already knew that, but now we have more information. Eating more plants and less meat lowers the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Semi-vegetarians, vegetarians, and vegans had a lower risk of diabetes than those who ate less plant food. The analysis included 9 studies, 5 U.S. cohorts, 4 cohorts from other countries, a total of over 307,000 people. According to this analysis, the people with the highest intake of anything plant-related was 23% lower risk of diabetes, but those who had the highest intake of whole plant foods like fruit, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and nuts had a 30% lower risk as compared to those who ate the lowest amounts. So even if you eat vegan junk food, you're better off than the low-carb people. Not that I'm recommending it, I'm just saying. The authors wrote, to our knowledge, the present study provides the most comprehensive evidence on the association between plant-based dietary patterns and incidence of type 2 diabetes. Subjects in the study who were the most adherent to a plant-based eating pattern still ate animal foods, which shows that dietary perfection is not required in order to lower the risk of developing type 2 diabetes and other chronic degenerative conditions. The authors wrote that several mechanisms of action likely explain the results. These include the fact that plant foods contain many compounds that have been found to, quote, improve insulin sensitivity and blood pressure, reduce long-term weight gain, and ameliorate systemic inflammation, pathways involved in the cause of type 2 diabetes. They also note that plant-based diets, quote, de-emphasize red and processed meats, which have been shown to adversely affect the risk of type 2 diabetes, possibly owing to their high heme iron or dietary cholesterol contents, end of quote. Now, the commentary about this was just as interesting and instructive as the study results themselves. A Medscape article that covered the study included a lot of reinforcing commentary from some experts. Cardiologist Kim Williams wrote, quote, more plants, less meat, less diabetes. I like a person who gets to the point. Michelle O'Donoghue, a medical doctor and professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School, said that the study results, quote, contribute to a growing body of research that a diet rich in plants and low in animal intake may help to reduce the risk of developing many chronic Western diseases, including type 2 diabetes. She added that some studies indicate that plant-based diets can even reverse type 2 diabetes. Michelle McCracken said, and she's a medical doctor, assistant professor at NYU's School of Medicine, she wrote the study's conclusions, quote, should inspire clinicians to consider recommending a more plant-based eating pattern to their patients. I agree. Dr. O'Donoghue points out that we should not be blaming carbohydrates for type 2 diabetes, but instead differentiating between refined carbohydrates and sugars versus carbohydrates that come from whole plant foods. She pointed out that this very important issue was reinforced by the study, since consuming nutrient-rich plant foods resulted in better protection than nutrient-poor processed plant foods. But I'll again remind you, the people eating the vegan junk food were better off than the people eating the high-fat diet. O'Donoghue added that ketogenic diets may lead to weight loss, but there are concerns about the effect of the ketogenic diet on inflammation, cholesterol levels, and disease progression. Now, what to me is striking is that the study was conducted by, and the commentary, the statements are being made by prominent mainstream health professionals. In other words, this isn't some fringe idea. This is becoming more and more mainstream, and a growing body of evidence is pointing in this direction. So we can only hope that the Dietary Guidelines Committee is reading this study and paying attention to these experts instead of the angry rants of the low-carb crowd that appeared at the hearing. Now, I'll just have a little postscript on the angry rants from the low-carb folks. I was talking about this with a group of people who had also attended the hearing last week. We decided that actually the low-carb people probably, their behavior and their extreme position, I'm sure, really hurt their cause. In other words, if they'd shown up being respectful, and they had been much more modern in their statements about, perhaps the same diet isn't good for everybody. I mean, they could have made a lot of wrong statements that would have been a lot easier to stomach and a lot less radical that might have gained some traction. But our impression, as we were talking about, is they all got together before the hearing and said, we're going to go in there and we're going to tell them what for, and they got themselves all riled up. They all told the same version of the story, a little bit different take on it, but the same story, and made ridiculous comments like diabetes is a disease of carb resistance. I mean, I think that the Dietary Guidelines Committee, I would like to think that they can see through that type of nonsense. So anyway, I'll keep you posted. That's just the beginning of the process, by the way, and there will be more to talk about in the ensuing months, and I'll keep you informed as I find out more things. All right, as usual, hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. Pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.